I have always really appreciated the way you pushed back when anyone tried to stifle you, shut you up, shame you, bully you. They tried it with the last one, with Once Upon a Time in the Hollywood, some bullshit about Margot Robbie doesn't have enough lines. And you do what I wish other people would do. Instead of apologizing like a little pussy, you say,
well, I just reject your hypotheses. Oh, suck a dick. Or don't ask me a question like that. I'm not biting.
Because it's so much fun, Jan. Get it?
There has become a thing that's gone on, it seems like in this, especially this last year, where ideology is more important than art. And it's just, it's like, ideology trumps art. Ideology trumps individual effort. Ideology trumps good. Ideology trumps entertaining. This comes in waves. This absolutely comes in waves, all right? So it's like, okay, just looking at the 40s, all right, that was during the wartime, but that's also the time that you had film noir, where you actually, even though with the Hays Code, you had these dark, dark stories that were being told. But then after the war was won, then you had the 50s, which was the first of the completely homogenized decades, where you couldn't say shit if you had a mouthful, all right? And every bestseller, every play that was turned into a movie, if there was anything sexual about it or anything, that's all going to be drained out of the movie. It's going to be weaned out of the movie. It's just the way it is. To me, it's one of the worst decades in Hollywood is the 50s. And the 60s, pretty much from like 1960 to 1966, was the 50s part 2. Right. But then what we think of as the 60s starts in about 67, and that's when New Hollywood comes out. And that's an absolute positive response to the homogenized 50s.
So it's going to come back again.
Okay, and then it goes into the 70s, but then we went into the 80s.
All right.
And that's why you came up with Politically Incorrect, because that was the first, this is basically 80s part 2, what we're living through right now.
Well, you say that as Quentin Tarantino, but if you're Quentin Tarantino in 1991...
Well, okay, well, I'm Quentin Tarantino in 1991 doing Reservoir Dogs, coming off of the 80s, which was the decade of they won't let you do that.
That's true.
And by the way, we're going through the 80s part 2 right now, except there's more of a McCarthy-esque blacklist aspect to it than was in the 80s. And so I remember I was like sitting at Video Archives and I was saying, well, I want to do shit like that when I'm making movies. And then one of the guys said, well, they won't let you, Quentin. And my answer was, well, who's they? Who are they to tell me what I can and can't do, can or cannot do? And at the end of the day, the proof is in the pudding. I never let they stop me. I did what I wanted to do. And by doing what I wanted to do, we changed the 90s. The 90s stopped being politically correct. Like, we built a bridge, and then everyone followed it. Everyone went over the bridge.
You have a responsibility as a filmmaker, surely, to explain a little bit about
No,
what
I
you're
don't
doing.
have any responsibility to you to explain anything I don't want to.
No, not to me, but to your viewers, to your fans, to people who
They know
care about what it is that you're doing.
They know where I'm coming from.